Good evening. Historic Preservation Commission, City of Cape May, September 16th, 2024. It's just a couple minutes past 6. In compliance with the Open Public Meeting Act of 1975, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided. If any member is reason to believe this meeting is being held in violation of that act, they should state so at this time. Pledge of allegiance, please.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Copeland?
Here.
Mr. Becker?
Here.
Mr. Stevenson?
Here.
Ms. Pisagno?
Here.
Thank you. Ms. Wilson-Stridick?
Here.
Mr. Hammerin? Here. Thank you.
Minutes from August 12th, 2024. You've had an opportunity to review those. Do I have a motion to accept them?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Actually, we did not have minutes this month. I'm sorry, they were not prepared. The minutes were not in your packet. They're not completed.
Well, sorry. I see them on the
I'll
agenda.
rescind the motion.
Resolutions. Bocher and Paslano, 1209 Lafayette Street, Block 1061, Lot 83.03, Resolution 2024-28. Clay Tour, 1519 New Jersey Avenue, 1175, Lots 7 through 10, Resolution 2024-29. Jordan, 911 Corgi, Block 1093, Lot 16, Resolution 2024-30. Colehauer, 298 Windsor Avenue, Block 1023, Lots 3 and 4, Resolution 2024-31. And Testa, 1501 Beach Avenue, Block 1174, Lots 28 and 29, Resolutions 2024-32. Do I have a motion to accept those resolutions?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Becker, seconded by Mr. Hammerin. Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Mr. Becker?
Yes.
Mr. Stevenson?
Yes.
Ms. Pisagno?
Abstain.
Thank you. Ms. Wilson-Stridick?
I also abstain.
Thank you. Mr. Hammerin?
Aye.
Yes?
Yes.
Thank you.
Applications approved or denied in review. You've had a chance to look at those. Do I have a motion to accept them?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Becker, seconded by Mr. Stevenson. Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Mr. Becker?
Yes.
Mr. Stevenson?
Yes.
Ms. Pisagno?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson-Stridick?
Yes.
Mr. Hammerin?
Yes.
Thank you.
We have a slight change in our agenda tonight. Before we go to old business, we're going to deal with new business of an important applicant here, the City of Cape May. 643 Washington Street, Block 1059, Lot 11. This is a key contributing building, and this will be a fence enclosure for the HVAC.
Well, I appreciate you taking me out of order, so I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Paul Dietrich, City Manager, City Engineer for the City of Cape May.
Thank you.
Thank you. When I started reviewing the building as a whole here at City Hall, did an inspection with Public Works, looked around, and there's just some items as I walked around City Hall that I felt that needed to be brought into compliance, I'm going to say, and because if we're asking all of our residents to follow through and do certain things, City Hall should be no different. It was also a process where we had had a architect prepare a needs assessment for the city, which I have to get a copy over, so as soon as I can get copies for every board member for the next meeting, I'll make sure to have a copy of the needs assessment that we did for several city buildings. But the first thing I wanted to tackle was we have 5 different locations where we have mechanical equipment outside that needs to be properly screened. We're proposing to put, board-on-board wood fencing around that, similar to what was approved next door at the church. We have 2 air conditioning condensers on the, I'll say, the north side of the building, 2 sets of condensers on the south side, and then there's I'll say the generator and some other equipment is already enclosed by fence, but we're going to replace that fence to match it with the new fence we have so that we have coordinating fencing around the entire building. And obviously it'll be painted white. So, look,
The fencing you're proposing is what you gave us as supplemental documentation?
that's a typical
Yeah.
of what we're building, yes. Yes.
And this is wood, right, Paul?
Wood, yes.
And this is a final submission, yes?
Correct.
Any other questions? It's been a while with that exposed
It's-
mechanicals, probably 15 years or so.
For some of them, probably, yes, maybe
Yeah.
some a little bit less, but
So,
I think it's long overdue to freshen up, and we're looking to some other cosmetic things over the winter. Hopefully, as you stop in at City Hall, you'll see some of the other cosmetic maintenance things we're going to be doing, both interior and exterior, here at the City Hall.
Mr. Chair, can I just ask a quick question? Is this something that could have been handled during the
review?
review committee?
Well, the position that I've taken on this is that the city and each member of the Historic Preservation Commission should come before the entire HPC. So everything is clear, above board, and available to the public. So this is the type of fence that could have been approved in review, but for the reasons that I stated, I believe we're in a better position to have an open
Okay.
discussion.
And I think we're doing that for all city projects, not just this,
Right.
regardless of scope or scale. I think they did look at it and review just to make sure that, we had that discussion, make sure we're on the right track, just like everybody else. But really, unlike other applicants, this is really for a recommendation, not a full approval, but, so it is appropriate to come here and get a full recommendation.
You'll also notice on our agenda that Testa, who is not here tonight as a member of the Historic Preservation Commission, his project could probably have been approved in review also. But again, I think it's important for all the members of the HPC to have open and public discussion of what's happening, so. Thank you. Do I have a motion?
Can I ask one quick question? On the front page of the application, under roofing, it says see roofing page. You're not bringing anything in about roofing tonight?
No.
So I would move to approve this final application as submitted.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Motion by Mr. Becker, seconded by Ms. Wilson Stredick. Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Mr. Becker?
Yes.
Mr. Stevenson?
Yes.
Ms. Bisagno?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson Stredick?
Yes.
Mr. Hammerin?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next order of business is old business, 230 Grant Street, Cape May LLC. This is 230 Grant Street, Block 1019, Lot 14. This is not rated, and it's a new house. Would you turn on your mic, please? There you go. And
Good evening. Thank you for representing our wonderful city of Cape May. Catherine Healy, seventh generation in Cape May, and owner of 230 Grant Street.
Thank you. And
James Chadwick, it's on.
Okay.
James Chadwick, architect and engineer licensed in the state of New Jersey.
thank you.
Can you please pull your mic closer? That's a little far. Thank you.
Yep, is that better? Thank you.
Okay,
So,
take it
you
away.
want me to talk?
Certainly.
We've been here before. Last visit, I believe 2 months ago, we received conceptual approval from the commission. There were 3 or 4 different recommendations that we've incorporated into the plans that you have in front of you. And I've also provided 3 additional sheets at the back. Subsequent to that conceptual approval, as we were preparing the final plans and gathering material samples and stuff like that, Ms. Healy met with, I guess you would call it your subcommittee.
Yes.
Review committee, and
Yes.
I should have mentioned to the,
That's,
I should have mentioned to the Preservation Commission that we did meet in review.
to,
As you know, we don't approve things
Yes.
in review, but because this application has been around a couple times, we tried to give some feedback as to the appropriateness of the presentation tonight.
Thank you. And we very much appreciate your time and the time of the commission members. We had originally thought we might be able to get final approval, but we understand that because we have a pending application with the planning board
on a plot
for
relocation.
a subdivision, that part that involves this property, we can't get our final approval this evening, and we're okay with that. What we wanted to do is to take a few minutes of the commission's time and talk about a couple specific items to make sure we're getting all the i's dotted, t's crossed, and the design buttoned up the way you guys would wish it to be, so that we're not running askance of your thought patterns as well. So I wasn't able to attend the subcommittee or review committee meeting that was held a couple of weeks ago.
2 weeks ago on a
weeks ago.
Tuesday.
And I understand that during the course of that meeting or that discussion, and I don't know who was there,
Warren was there,
Becker?
Boker, and Mr. Stevenson.
Mr. Copeland and Mr. Stevens. Okay, great.
Okay.
When we gained our conceptual approval, part of our discussion was about the front stairs to this building and the fact that we didn't have a central front door. It was actually a bathroom. And there were doors on each side of the building. We had designed a center stair that would enter the front of the building by walking from sidewalks on each side of the structure to converging stairs and then going up on the center of the porch. A major part of the reason that we designed it that way is because, as we've described in the past, my client owns the adjoining property.
Three continuous, 248, 236, and 230. This is the closest property to the beach on Grant Street.
So her children will live in each of the other 2 houses, this being one of those, while Kathy will maintain her residence in 248. But as a very close family, they are going to intercommunicate from building to building frequently. We wanted to create an easy path to provide access from that front porch to the adjoining building on
236.
236. And that's the reason why we designed the stairs the way we did, to come off of the front porch and then split. If you're walking towards the street and you go to the left, you can very easily go to 236, their adjoining owned structure. Or if you go to the right, you can walk down to the left side of the building where the garage entry is and the main entry to the
To the structure.
If I could interrupt, though, so we're not here all night to go
Right.
through the same thing several times. We have looked at this project several times. The stair that was originally designed goes up the front to nothing, to nowhere, to no door. it's not appropriate. We had offered a couple of alternatives. I see one here at the very back.
Correct. And
Is
my goal
Is
this
this what we're
evening,
proposing, or?
my goal this evening was to have this brief discussion about what we designed and why we designed it that way, and then transition into, I guess, the concept that I've drawn as an alternative plan, which I believe was guided by the three board members as something that they desired. So I didn't know how firm the position was of the commission in providing that alternative design, because my fear is that by coming up the center and then branching to right and left to two separate stairs in front of separate doors, is that it's going to give this building the feeling of a duplex from the street. And that's not what we want. That's not the perception that we want to create. So we felt by creating the single stair up to the center, even though there's no door in front of it, it is one porch. That's all I wanted to explain, and see if I can get some feedback, members, from the full board about which route we should go.
The issue that we addressed as a group here before, and then we addressed in review, was from a streetscape perspective, which is the primary concern, new construction for the Historic Preservation Commission. For a stair going to a wall simply didn't make any sense to the members of the HPC. There's a lot of reasons for it, perhaps, but when you look at it from a streetscape perspective, it's a stair that goes up to a window, and I think
Well,
there's
the
a better way of
gate,
doing it.
we're planning to keep that gate closed. You know, I'm looking to have very young children out there, and
This is the third time we've had this conversation.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, could you speak a little more into your microphone?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
The problem here is that we're trying to be helpful. We're trying to communicate what the objection was, and then we worked with you, trying to come up with some alternatives. It's fine. At the end of the day, you, as an applicant, are entitled to present your final view to this commission. That's fine. So,
I mean, it also changes, we were trying to do a berm and a very nice, subtle plantings on either side so that having the house up higher, as it is needed to be, having that floral, nice, different variety of flowers, hydrangeas and things, it allows us to have more, it softens the porch instead of having the stairwell right in the middle. The garden is, as all my gardens are, they are beautiful.
I guess what I might ask, without trying to be too forceful or too stepping beyond my bounds, is maybe take a straw vote of the board members as to, and maybe you won't allow this, I don't know, but as to which design they would desire based upon the explanation that I've given. I don't think that's too much to ask.
And we're really trying to, this is Healy Point, 3 continuous homes. It's a large investment on my part, and I'm going to keep these as private homes for my generations. And fortunately, I'm in my early 60s. I hope to grow old here, very old. I'm already old, but
the application, before we go there, if the members remember, there were some questions about the parking under the thing and whether it was visible from the street or not. And that was addressed in this plan. And in review, the review committee, we had made some comments. But it appears to me that the applicant has embraced our observations and our comments. And I think the parking is is improved. And
Thank you.
And the landscape plan is really quite nice. The question that was asked now is not whether we're going to approve the whole thing or not, but simply the two designs that are on this page. This is the design that you're proposing.
Yes, sir.
The back one.
This is in your packet. The design that we had talked about in the review committee is this one. Is this one that tries to rationalize the doors, the steps, and this wall. The applicant, I don't agree with the vote, but we can go around the room and see what the members of the commission view about the parking side. If you have a question, by all means, bring that up. But the first question is this doorway, the stair. So, John, you want to make a comment?
So I think that the proposed redesign is preferable, and I think that it speaks more clearly to the idea that there's not a front entrance to a place where there's not a door. But there's one other thing that I do want to mention, and that is in your prior submission, and forgive us, but we missed it, you have cable railings on the back porches. Oh,
If I could just interrupt
you want me to
you.
wait on that?
Well, this is the one you're proposing tonight.
He's proposing that and an
That's the
alternate.
that's the one we proposed previously. It's the one we prefer.
It's
But I
our
have
preferred.
provided
We,
On the back,
The last 3 pages are an
on
alternate
the last
scheme.
3 pages,
That's this one.
the alternative that
So
shows the stairs.
what are you presenting?
Both.
I mean, we prefer the first one,
Or the first one.
but we took into serious consideration your time and effort to meet in subcommittee. So we want to be respectful.
Right, so all I'm saying is I find that the proposed alternate scheme far preferable for all the reasons we've already talked about, including at the last meeting. But there's one other comment I need to make, and that is, in the conceptual approval, there were railings on the 2 back porches and the back stairs that are cable railings, and that would not be consistent with our standards, as stated on both page 59 and 32, where it says porches on non-contributing properties should reflect the predominant porch type, scale, design, and materials, be consistent with historic materials of the historic district, and reinforce the architectural character. So I would strongly propose that I would not be able to approve this with the cable railings, but if you had the baluster railings that would match what you're depicting on both schemes for the front porch, I would be fine with everything else. Did you follow that?
Yeah, you don't want the cable rail.
It's not that I like them or don't like them.
It's
that
not consistent with.
It's not consistent with our standards, yes.
Do a simple baluster rail system in the back as well.
Yep,
But you
absolutely
still prefer the alternative stair at the front that
Yes.
you spoke about.
If we were taking the straw vote that you were requesting, I would vote for the alternate.
You vote for the alternate.
Yes.
Okay.
Janice?
I would also vote for the alternative, right?
Next.
Well, I actually prefer the new one as well, because the lines of the railings going up kind of allude to the fact that there's a central entrance there, where the other one, when the railings were going the opposite direction, it took away from the center of the facade.
All right.
So it gives it kind of an illusion of it, there is an entrance there.
You can say, I prefer the new one as well because it makes sense. Because you go up and you enter a door, and you go up and you enter a door, and the window is in between, and to me, it just makes sense.
Kevin?
I agree that the alternate version.
Seems like 6-0 so far. Thank you.
Well, and you know my
know your
position.
He's made that clear.
All right, thank you very much for your time. I struggled with that alternative. Frankly, we're just going to agree to disagree, but we're going to follow your your guidance in that matter. Thank you very much.
Okay, and hopefully we'll be back to see you within 2 months when we get the plot plan approved. We have enough room to build everything, so,
Yeah, because you still need
planning board.
planning board approval, right?
Yes.
So-
Kathy, you met and talked about samples and materials?
Yes.
When you met with the three
Yes.
gentlemen?
And I would like to, this is the name of this product is
Everlast, I believe.
Everlast, yes.
When we were here initially,
This will be 7-inch, the sample is 5-inch, and this is the color.
we indicated we wanted to use a heavier vinyl product, not the flimsy vinyl stuff that you see on cheap buildings. As you can see, this is a much more substantial product.
So my only comment about this is, generally speaking, when a substitute material is presented, particularly whether it's vinyl or some sort of plastic, generally speaking, we are not approving those materials that have a stamped wood grain in them as opposed to a smooth finish.
Okay? Kathy, does that come in a smooth finish?
I will have to ask.
Yeah.
I believe it does.
A smooth finish is what replicates, in this instance, cedar. And, you know, these manufacturers, they put a grain in it to make it interesting, but then it becomes contemporary and not what we're looking for.
Lovely.
The 7-inch would be,
That's the size of it, and I will find out.
yeah.
And then this is
Oh, I have this roof.
Stone Gate Gray, and this is a certainty often seen throughout Cape May.
Yeah, nice shadow product.
It's fine.
So it's the bottom.
I wasn't aware if there were any other materials that the commission was concerned about. I know Kathy's given a submission of
All the
yay thick.
items.
So are there any other items that the commission has a concern about or needs us to reconsider?
Not that I'm aware of. Are there any other comments? So tonight, you're looking for conceptual approval?
And direction, so we understand that.
Well,
we wanna
we
do it.
we can only approve one.
Yeah,
So, John, would you want to make a motion
Sure.
on,
I would move for conceptual approval of this project as presented with the alternative front stair scheme with two additional implications. One is that the cable railing not be part of the project, but rather be wood balusters to match that of the front porch. And second, that the siding not have a imitation wood grain in it, but be smooth siding.
thank you.
I'll second that.
Just to be clear for the record, the original design that the applicant was proposing was for page 4 of 7. The amended design that is the subject of this motion is at the end of the packet, and it's noted as 4A of 7. Is that correct, Mr. Chadwick?
I believe it is 4A, yes. Yep.
Okay.
So as soon as we get the plot plans approved by zoning, planning board, we will be back.
We got to vote
Let's
on
have
the
a vote.
motion first.
We have to
Okay.
vote.
No problem.
Motion by Mr. Becker, seconded by Mr. Copeland. Mr. Copeland?
Yes,
Mr. Becker?
Yes.
Mr. Stevenson?
Yes.
Ms. Pisagno? Ms. Wilson-Stridick?
Yes.
Mr. Hammerin? Thank you.
I should mention, but I think it is clear, I changed the application from final to conceptual.
Yes.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes, thank you.
One simple question. Now that we've gotten this far and we're just essentially waiting for planning board, do we need another formal meeting for final approval, or can that be done by committee, assuming everything is consistent with what we've talked about?
No, you're still going to have to come back because we want a resolution. unless there's some significant change because of planning, it should be pretty painless, and we can make sure you're first on the agenda, assuming that you're going to come back and say,
We haven't changed anything, we just have the resolution. Now, just to understand, when the planning board approves, do we have to wait another 30 days before we can come to you? So we're out 60 at least? Okay. We are trying to get this home started,
I understand.
because the right time of the weather,
Yes.
Pretend I'm stupid, maybe I am. Once the board grants their approval, why do we have to wait another 30 days?
has to go to,
Because we're going to have a meeting, we're going to vote, whether there's changes or no changes, and then there'll be a resolution. We can't get a resolution without having a meeting.
No,
the planning board, but we have to wait for the planning board for it to go into resolution with the planning board, or once they approve, I am on the October 12th,
Conceptual approval, so you can go to planning.
and if they approve it on October 12th, can I come back to you in October? Or do I have to wait?
No, our meeting in October is when, Judy?
Yeah,
So the
I think what he was saying is when you come back here for final, you're not going to get a resolution that night. You'll get final approval, and then
the resolution will be the
resolution
following.
from this board will be
I
at the following
understand.
meeting. So if you get approval at the planning board secretary will issue, before they issue a resolution at the next meeting, they'll do a notice of decision. So there'll
Okay.
be at least a notice of decision on the board, whether it was granted or whatever.
Okay,
As long as we have that, we're good to hear it here for
Good.
final.
thank you. I just needed to understand the policy and procedure. Now I understand. Thank you.
thank you very much for your time.
One last comment. I also wanted to thank you because we didn't mention that you added the 2 columns to the very long span in front of the garages as we had requested, so thank you for that.
Okay.
Just got to be careful making that right-hand turn.
Yeah.
Careful driving, yeah.
No, in fact, I did mention that
Yeah.
they embraced
Yeah.
the ideas that we had shared with the,
We did.
and
Hey.
I think cosmetically it approves.
My family goes back to 1844, and I hope it will go for another 100 years, at least.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next order of business is Waxman, 931 Corgis, Block 1093, Lot 11. It's a contributing property. They want to replace the shed, fence, exterior shower, doors, concrete, and trim repair. Hello.
How are you?
We need your name and relationship to the property, please.
Gary Waxman, owner, co-owner.
Miriam Waxman, owner.
Speak into the mic, please.
Miriam Waxman, owner.
Thank you. So, take it away.
Well, we have, we'll go with the easier ones. We have chain link fence around the perimeter on 3 sides, both sides in the rear. There's a little bit at the edge of the driveway. It's just very cold and industrial looking. Reminds me of my neighborhood that I grew up in the 60s. We would like to have them, the ones on our property, removed and replaced with wood fence. Our neighbors, the fences on the sides of our house are actually owned by our neighbors. Both have agreed to remove the fences if we are putting in wood fences. The one in the rear of the property we're unsure of. We think it's our fence. Our neighbor behind us thinks it's her fence. So we'll figure that one out. We have concrete paving throughout the property. Particularly in the rear, it's cracking, sinking in certain areas. It's actually creating not just a visual hazard, but a real hazard. So we need to replace it. Our goal is to replace it with pavers and beautify the property. We want to install a storm door on the side of our house, which we intend to replace with a wood frame door. Pardon me?
The three.
Three. We're getting the front as well? Front door as well, and the deck. The deck, there is a broken storm door, which is a wood frame, which we're going to try to fix. If we can't, we're going to replace it. We also have an exterior shower, which admittedly, we weren't aware we needed to do anything other than build it, so it's about 3/4 finished. It's all wood. It's not connected to the house, but it's abutting the rear corner. And we also had a rotting wooden shed in the rear of the property that our understanding was it was a more modern shed. It was not part of the contributing history of the property. It was had black mold in it. It was the frame was built with nominal 2x4s on top of a concrete pad, all of which seemed to be more modern era. We ripped down that shed and we started to replace it with a all-wood shed, hand-built on the premises, on exactly the same footprint.
Could I just interrupt you for a second?
You may.
This is the shed that you're talking about
Correct.
tearing down. As a point of order, on the one hand, it's clear that this is not contributing. On the other hand, we do have to go through the 9 points, which you can answer.
Okay.
In this instance, I believe yes or no. You,
In this case, it would be 7.
All right.
the first,
Got 2 knocked off already.
the first 7 of the 9.
These are the 7 criteria by which demolition is permitted.
So if you would read the point, the 7 points, but one at a time,
Okay.
read into the record, and then you can respond.
I'm having
And
a-
you don't, it doesn't require a lengthy response.
I'm going to have him do it. I'm having, my batteries just died in my hearing aids. They literally just died. I'm having a hard time hearing you. so
Okay,
I'm-
you only need to hear from one of us, correct?
Yeah.
You only, okay, all right, so point number 1, it's historic, architectural, cultural, and aesthetic significance. Do you want me to answer?
Yes.
That shed, I believe it is none of those things.
Point number 2,
Its current and potential use for those purposes currently permitted by this chapter or for the use proposed. I plead somewhat ignorance to what is currently permitted, but we were putting up a shed of identical size, shape, and on the exact footprint, all wood and shingles.
point number 2, yes or no?
It's current use for those purposes currently permitted by this chapter or for the use proposed. I guess it's yes.
All right,
I'm
point
I'm
number
not
3.
clear on that. Its importance to the municipality and the extent to which its historical or architectural value is such that its removal would be detrimental to the integrity of the historic property or district and the public interest. Would be no. Number 4, the extent to which it is of such old, unusual, or uncommon design, craftsmanship, texture, or material that could not be reproduced or could be reproduced only with great difficulty, no. The extent to which its retention would increase property values, promote business, create new positions, attract tourists, students, writers, historians, artists, and artisans, attract new residents, encourage study and interest in American history, stimulate interest and study in architecture and design, educate citizens in American culture and heritage, or make the municipality a more attractive and desirable place in which to live, no. The impact of its removal upon the historic district, none, no. The structural soundness and integrity of the building and the economic feasibility of restoring or rehabilitating the structure so as to comply with the requirements of the applicable building codes, I'll say no. Again, I'm not clear on that point.
Next point,
So I do need to read 8? You're saying number 8, that was number 7.
that that was 7.
Yeah, that was 7, yeah.
Do I have a motion to accept the demolition of this shed?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Okay.
Motion by Mr. Becker, seconded by Ms. Wilson Stridick. Let me just get to this page. Mr. Copeland,
Yes.
Mr. Becker,
Yes.
Mr. Stevenson,
Yes.
Ms. Bisagno.
Yes.
Ms. Wilson Stridick.
Yes.
Mr. Hammerin.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. The proposal to build a new shed, which is already in progress. You're showing a picture of a shed that looks like what you would buy from a company. Are you intending to build a shed here that looks like this?
Well, yes, it looks like that representation is a little distorted in that picture. It is the exact same size as the prior shed. It was a kit that's been customized and was built on premise, including reinforced flooring, but it's in the exact same footprint and has almost the exact same peak. It will be it will be painted. It did not come, pre-painted.
Any questions by the commission on what is being built?
Only 2. In your materials list, it says that all of the exterior materials of the shed will be wood. Is that correct?
Correct.
And the depiction appears to be vertical T111 siding, which is a rough sawn plywood material. So given that that's not a kit building that you're purchasing, would you consider horizontal siding as opposed to that vertical T111, which would therefore more closely be compatible with the existing house?
Actually, that's just what I was going to say. Generally speaking, the shed should emulate the primary structure on the property, so therefore you look for the same kind of design and material use as the main structure.
I believe the design is vertical, not horizontal, if that's what you're asking. It's up and down the panels, as were the old panels on the prior shed.
So is it T111 siding? It's a rough sawn plywood. That's what this picture.
I'm going to plead ignorance, but my guess is you probably know more than I do about it, so it probably is, but it will be painted the same paint as the siding in the house.
Would you consider putting horizontal siding on the shed to more closely match the house?
We would prefer not, only because we've spent a great deal of money having it 80% constructed, quite honestly. It's almost constructed at this point. It's also in the rear it's next to a non-contributing building.
This,
Yeah,
you have a contributing property,
correct.
and the fact that it's almost built or somewhat built is immaterial. The question is, with Texture 111, it could act the same as sheathing, and then on top of that, you can put horizontal clapboard siding, which would match the house.
You're saying, so basically put another layer over the existing layer.
Yeah.
We will consider anything.
Well, it's not consider.
Yeah.
It's agreeing.
Okay. If that's what you're asking, you say, I think initially you were asking if it was considered. If you're telling us that's what we need to do, then we will do what we need to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Other questions by this
On
committee?
the shed or
On
still
the,
on the shed?
No, on the whole project.
Okay, I did. I had a couple questions. On these pictures here on this page, it says
Yes.
that you are going to have wooden doors and screen doors, and it lists 3 locations. Then it says same as existing wooden screen door. But in these photos, I don't see any screen doors on these photos. I mean, they're wooden, heavy wooden entrance doors. So, I mean, we need some explanation as what these wooden screen doors are going to look like.
Did we not have pictures of them in the package of what we were intending to buy?
There is a picture in here. Maybe not.
I mean, it's basically a full-view wooden screen, just a wooden frame door.
We need to have a catalog cut of that to show what particular model.
Yeah, I thought well, I don't have, this, if you look at this page here, this is the one that's existing on the deck. We're gonna, all 3 doors, we would like the same wooden style and look.
It's actually a door, sorry, it blew off in a storm, it's laying on its side, but, yeah.
But I just don't think there's enough detail in there to make sure, because you're right in the heart of historic district there.
Right.
Okay.
I don't know whether this is a modern-looking door or appropriate or not by this photo.
Okay, so what do you need?
What we need is if you go to where you're going to buy the door from and give us, they call it a catalog cut. So we'll show what it will look like, all the materials, explain it in detail.
Okay.
And we'll see if it's appropriate. One other thing, too, was regarding, you mentioned pavers. Again, you're in the heart of the historic district. We need some specificity as to what these pavers are going to look like. They shouldn't be a modern product.
Right.
You know, preferably red brick, or something at least looks like red brick. So we need, again, something from the manufacturer that shows what you're going to put there.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, look, we love the city. We understand the significance of the district. We're not intending to, I mean, we spent 3 years rehabbing the house, keeping it in compliance. If you pull down the drywall, the hand-hewn, joists are still all there, and, we have no intention to modernize, if you will.
But we do have people that come in front of us and they want to put modern composite pavers in, and that would be inappropriate. So please give us
We get it.
something that would show exactly what you're going to put in.
Well, just to clarify, I don't see anywhere in the application where you're proposing new pavers. It looks like you're just repairing the existing concrete. Is that correct?
Did we submit anything with pavers specifically, or did we just want to repair the concrete?
We just want to repair the concrete, but we want to do pavers also.
So would the pavers be on top of the repaired concrete? We're just trying to understand.
No. I
No?
think the concrete
So the
has to be
pavers would
pulled
be
out.
in the same, so I guess what I'm trying to understand is, I don't see anywhere in the application you guys saying you're going to be using pavers, so maybe I missed it.
I think maybe we missed it. We were, in all likelihood, the way it looks,
Okay.
when we repair the concrete, it has to be removed. It can't be patched.
Oh, so you'll be removing it?
So if we're going to remove it, our goal would be, we do not like concrete.
Got it.
Trust me. We want to put pavers. We want it to fit in with the district. If we have to submit, do we have to submit this under a separate application?
Mr. Waxman, just
Yes,
to
sir.
be clear for the record,
Yeah.
this last photo that you guys submitted here,
Yeah.
that's the cement, their concrete that is damaged and that you want to take out, right?
Yeah.
And are you saying to the board that you were proposing to do pavers here, or what's the proposal there? I think that's what they're asking.
Yeah.
Well, we want to do pavers. The walking.
Yes. Yes, we want to replace all of those those sidewalks.
Behind the fence, but not the driveway, right?
The driveway for now, because of the cost, because it's a very large driveway, we're not looking to repair that or replace that now,
Okay,
in
so-
this phase.
In other words, anywhere beyond the new fence that you're proposing, this is going to be, you're proposing to take this out and then put a new paver surface to be approved by the HPC in that location? Is that what you're proposing?
Yes.
Okay. And that's what they are looking for a cut sheet for, to say what
Got
it
it.
is.
Understood. Thank you.
Other questions from the commission?
I'm assuming you're seeking conceptual approval, is that correct?
I'm sorry.
Are we seeking conceptual approval? Well,
Conceptual versus final.
we would like, I guess we would like, well, I'm not, I'm kind of ignorant of this, so forgive me. This is,
It's a moot question. We can move to conceptual. You're not ready for final. We don't have the material that we need. So if you go to final, we're going to vote, it'll be no. And I would suggest you go with conceptual.
okay, so you need to approve the final material that we're intending to put on top of the shed is for one, is that correct?
Yes. And-
Okay.
And the pavers and the screen doors.
So I would move to approve this submission conceptually with three clarifications. One is submission of the siding for the shed to match the siding of the house. Two, the location of and the type of pavers that you're proposing to use to replace the damaged concrete. And three, cut sheets of the wood doors that you're also proposing to install.
Okay. And the exterior shower?
You're repairing that, is that correct?
No, we're actually constructing it.
It's just the enclosure.
It's just a shower enclosure, yeah, it's just, three wood walls, if you will, just to rinse off.
Mr. Becker and Mr. Chair, can I make an alternative suggestion?
Oh, yes, please.
We've gotten, I think, into a little bit of a habit with the conceptual approvals lately because we do issue a document associated with that. I will just share my perspective with the board that the conceptual review and then final is typically a good exercise when a board has to go on to the zoning or planning board, because then they'll get a document to say, hey, the HPC reviewed it and they had a few comments, but they're going to come back for final. But on these types of applications, are you going to the zoning or planning board? Have you spoken to the zoning officer?
I'm a bit confused about that. We did the permit for the,
And just, how did you end up coming to the HPC? Did you talk to the construction officer, zoning officer, and they said, hey, you have to go to the HPC?
Yep.
Did they indicate to you that, I'm not saying you do or you don't, I don't know, and that's why I asked the question, because it may affect how we handle it. Do you know whether you have to go to the zoning board for any reason on this?
For the shed?
Well,
We may-
for the shower.
For,
For the shed or the shower, if it's demoed, just the location of it? You don't know, and
I apologize. We may have to go to the, I don't know. It's 5 feet and 1 inch from the property line. Our understanding is it's okay. but
I'm not making
I don't
that
know.
determination from the table, I'm just
Yeah.
asking the question, because like I said, if applications have to go to one of those boards, it's helpful for this board to review, provide a document to them, say, hey, we reviewed it, this is what we think.
I believe that's the case. I believe that the zoning board will want to see HPC approval for the shed and the shower.
that's my understanding.
Okay.
Okay.
So that eventually you'll have to present these additions to
Yeah,
the.
yeah, because I think they really sent us here.
Say that again?
I believe that someone from the construction office sent us to HPC, said we need to get approval here first.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Is work being done beyond the shed?
You mean in addition, or?
No.
No, work was being done and we stopped it. Someone showed up, someone from the construction office showed up, I don't know, maybe 2 months ago, and we stopped immediately. We haven't done anything.
It seems to me that they've gotten a lot of feedback. It seems to me they're going to have to come back here with the plan for the shower. We need to know, we need the plan for the pavers. We need the documentation for the material. So it just seems like even voting for this.
They're better off coming back, whether it's tabling or a conceptual, you're better off getting a more complete conceptual, if that's the case. And I'll just preview that with, one of the things we can do is, instead of the board considering, because we have to act within a certain time period too, and if we were to act soon, you probably wouldn't like the outcome, but one of the things the applicant can do is, they can agree to an extension of time, which will give you the time to go back and address some of these comments, and then come back to the board, whether it's conceptual or final, and then we can review, the cut sheets and those materials.
So one of our concerns is that time marches on, and all the stuff is sitting outside of our property. There's nowhere to store things. We kind of temporarily tucked it in the shed as best we could. We really need to get the shed done. So do we need to break up this application? Because I don't know that from a time perspective, we can get all of the, like, in other words, does this whole application have to be approved in its entirety? It's either all or nothing? Because I'm concerned about getting, the pavers and getting all that. I need a design, I need materials. I don't know if that's going to happen as quickly as I like before winter sets
You
in.
don't have to get the material. We need to have a cut sheet on what you're going to order.
Is that all you need, or you don't need to see a design at this point?
We need to see where you're going to put the pavers, for example.
Okay, but you don't need to see a rendering from like a
architect?
a
No,
landscape architect or a hardscape architect?
They need to know, and that's why I was asking those questions about what are you doing this and not that. They need to know what they're approving, but then
Right.
once we have that kind of understanding, okay, you're going to do it behind the fence, but not the driveway, and then this is the material we're going to use for that location. As long as we can describe it and understand what we're talking about, that's fine. We don't need an architect's plan necessarily
Okay.
for that type of thing. But going back to what I was saying is, we meet every month. They have review meetings every other Tuesday.
Every Tuesday.
Every Tuesday.
Except the Tuesday after the
The
Monday
meeting.
night meeting.
So no, not tomorrow, but every other Tuesday, you can come back and, show that review committee the materials, and then eventually it can find its way back to the board the next monthly meeting. My point is, you can ask for an extension, which will avoid the board making an unfavorable decision, and then you can come back when you're ready to present, and it's up to you guys. It's not, you know when we meet, you know when the review committee meets, and you can take the time and take these comments and come back with a more, maybe complete picture for the board to consider.
Chris,
Act on.
if I can just add something for the Waxmans. Once you get a resolution of approval for all this work, you have time to complete it. I think it's 2 years, right?
Yes.
The resolutions are good for 2 years. So if it's approved, let's say in October, you get it in November, you have 2 years from November to finish all this work before you have to come back, and then you can ask for an extension to the resolution. So you don't have to eliminate any of the work.
Okay, thank you.
And also, Mr. Waxman, if you do have to go to the zoning board, you're not going to be held up by this board, because that board takes longer to act than we do. We don't have 200-foot notice and things like that. If you want to get put on an agenda, you reach out to Judy, and as long as it complies with the Open Public Meetings Act, we can get you on an agenda. So it's a little bit quicker to come to this board. And nothing
Understood.
against the zoning board, but it's a little bit easier to navigate this process than it is that one.
I won't tell them you said that.
That's okay. These are on YouTube, so they'll be able to find out. Do you want to request an extension so that you can go back to the drawing board, so to speak, with some of these comments and come back to the board?
Yeah, could you just explain what that extension means in terms of actual timeline?
Well, it's really up to, if you want to try and incorporate those comments, I would say you could do a 60-day extension. It's really, it's to give yourselves time to retool the application a little bit.
Sounds like we need it then.
You, excuse me if I may also add, you may be confusing the zoning officer downstairs in construction with the zoning board. So you'll want to talk to Bruce Britton, who I think you may have talked to before about your plan. Bruce will advise you if you need relief from the zoning board for any of your setbacks or anything like that. It's a common sort of misconception. There's the zoning officer and the zoning board. So you might want to call Bruce Britton tomorrow and come in and confirm with him whether you need to go to the zoning board.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Waxman, this is you requesting a 60-day extension. If you want to come back earlier, it doesn't mean it's going to take 60 days. So if you do this in 10 days and you get those back to Judy, you can request to be put on an agenda. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Yep.
You can just sign there.
Also, Mr. Waxman, if you have the manufacturer's product data for the three things we talked about, I would invite you to come and meet with us next Tuesday morning or any Tuesday morning here and present those to us, and that way it could expedite the process for you. All you need to do is call Judy and tell her that you'd like to make an appointment with us for a Tuesday HPC review meeting.
Thank you. All done?
Mr. Waxman, if you could just pass that back, I'll give that.
Yeah.
Yep.
We're done.
Thank you. All right, we still have homework to do. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, yes.
All right, thank you. Okay. All right.
Motion to table? Or accept the extension?
We have a motion from Mr. Becker to approve.
Withdraw that
the
motion.
concept. Okay, thank you.
So we need a motion to agree to the extension.
I would move to table this project as requested by the owner.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Becker, excuse me, Mr. Becker, seconded by Mr. Copeland. Mr. Copeland,
Yes.
Mr. Becker,
Yes.
Mr. Stevenson.
Yes.
Ms. Pisagno.
Yes.
Ms. Wilson Stritta.
Yes.
Mr. Hammerin. Thank you.
Thank you. Next order of business is Gallagher, 257 Grant Street, Block 1023, Lot 20. This is a contributing property, and we're going to discuss windows and siding.
Do I have to wait? Should I wait?
Yes.
Mr. Becker?
please.
Okay.
Yeah, he'll be back.
Excuse me, Pam, while we wait, did you ever send me a PDF of this plan? I have a note that I didn't get the PDF. I don't remember if you sent it to me or not.
Did you email me for a PDF?
I think so, on the 5th. We'll just check. I'll check
Okay.
in tomorrow.
Okay.
Thank you.
I can get that to you tonight, though, if that helps.
Pam, you can introduce yourself.
Okay.
We just have to wait for the presentation for John to come.
Of course. Pamela Fine from Fine Architecture. I'm here tonight on behalf of my clients, Bill and Sandy Gallagher. Unfortunately, they are out of town and asked me to represent them. And we will be discussing some renovations to 257 Grant Street. And I'll just wait a moment.
Are you comfortable with this, Chris? With Ann?
Yeah, just for the record, Judy and I have implemented while we're waiting here, I'll just fill the board, and we've implemented a procedure where we don't have to go through this song and dance about do you have authority or not. The applicants are advised via email before they come into the board, if they can't be present, to notify Judy and indicate if somebody's going to be appearing in their stead, that they have the authority to present. And we have that in writing from the applicant now, just not the, and we trust the professionals when they come in here, but we want to hear it from the applicant. And we have that in the form of writing via email before these applications, and they're advised that if they don't respond, that they may not be heard. So that frees up Ms. Fine to do her presentation.
You
knowing
received that?
Yeah. we
Okay,
did.
perfect,
And,
perfect.
and just for the record, we won't proceed, I would recommend we not proceed with an application unless we get that assurance via email. It's designed to be easy, not some hall of mirrors about how you get a, just send Judy an email saying we can't be there and this person is my designated representative, which they did in this case, so.
Perfect. Okay, I will begin. So we're proposing, I would call it a small renovation to 257 Grant Street. We're not proposing any additions or anything like that. It's fairly minor, just consisting of new window replacements and new wood siding. So the existing home, if you look at the photos, it's covered in asbestos. We had the contractor come out and peel away some of the asbestos, and underneath was revealed some wood clapboard. So we're proposing all new wood clapboard. We'll do new wood corner boards about 4 inches wide, and we'll continue that all the way around the existing home. Towards the back of the home, there is an existing sunroom. Right now, the sunroom doesn't really function that well as a sunroom. The house needs a laundry room. So we're proposing turning that sunroom into their laundry room. And in doing that, obviously, we don't need all the windows. So the other part of that process is the windows. We're removing some of the windows in that sunroom just to make it a more functional laundry room. And in the old tiny laundry room will now be their pantry right off of the kitchen. And then a couple other things for the windows. If you look on the P2 sheet, you'll see along the right side in the renovated dining room, we have 2 new proposed windows that will be alongside of an existing window. So it'll be a 3-bank of window along that side, and then we're removing some in the sunroom. Those windows will be Colby windows, double hung, all wood, non-clad, pre-primed. And those will be in the same style as what you find in the existing front of the home, which are 6/1s. Let me see if there's anything else. Is it 9/1s?
Yes, well, that's what you're showing.
Oh, okay. I just counted wrong when I typed it up. Yes, so it's 9/1s. Yes, so that's what we're proposing throughout the home. Everything should match with those. And let's see, and then in the back, we will have that laundry room going in. There's going to be some new wall spaces where the windows were removed. We're going to fill that in with wood clapboard, and then underneath of the window sills, I'm going to do a wood panel, which replicates what was there with the sunroom. And then we're keeping, there's some intricate corner molding on that back sunroom, which I believe were the old columns. So we're going to keep those, pay homage to the sunroom that was.
What is the, I'm sorry, are you through?
No, yes, I'm done. Sorry.
What is the exposure or the reveal on the clapboards?
I don't think we measured it, but we can definitely find that out if it's like a 4 or 5. I don't think it was anything larger than that. They were fairly small reveals.
You're gonna, okay, so you'll match existing?
We'll match existing, yes.
The way we'll read it?
And if it's in good enough shape, we might even be able to just fix
You
it.
probably will find that there's quite a bit that you can use.
Yeah, I'm hoping that with the asbestos on there, it basically, just enclosed and protected. And hopefully when we remove that, if there's something worth saving, then we will certainly save it. I know they were battling with, do we just keep the asbestos and, save money, or do we have enough to do the wood clapboard? So if we find that we can save wood clapboard, I'm sure that would make them very happy.
And I'm sorry, there is definitely wood clapboard on the
Yes.
asbestos?
Yes.
You just don't know what the reveal is.
Right. We peeled it back. He got a picture, but he didn't put a tape measure on it. So it wasn't anything larger than, I would say, like a 5-inch exposure.
We're good if we're gonna match existing.
Match existing, yes.
Thank you. Pam.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from the commission?
Pamela, just regarding the windows, there a little more specificity as to what model, and it does say Colby Allwood.
Yeah, it's on the cut sheet, Heritage Series, double hung Sterling, double hung operating, let's see, double pane glass. It's the cross section. If there's a better catalog cut sheet, I can find that and
Muntins
send
on the
it.
outside of the glass.
Yes, for sure. Yes.
Other questions from the commission?
Yes. So one of the things that has come to light as I've been observing window replacements in town recently is there have been times when windows have been removed from an existing home that's contributing, and the replacement windows are not exactly the same size, nor is the trim the same size. So what ends up happening is there's a space between the new trim and the edge of the existing siding from where the trim was removed. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
I know what you're
correct?
talking about, yes.
So I just want to be sure that that's not happening here.
Right. I believe these are all going to be custom ordered, fit to the existing window opening sizes.
Okay. The only other thing that also has emerged with window replacements is the whole grill work being simulated divided lights.
Okay.
So there's 3 or 4 different versions of simulated divided lights. In fact, I just today found the new guide to window grills from Geldwin. You're using Geldwin, correct?
Colby.
Oh, you're using Colby?
Yes.
So this is good. This is why I'm bringing this up.
Yes.
Colby has a whole bunch of different simulated divided lights. Some are 3 times the size of what they should be. Some are half the width that they should be. So I think we do need to see documentation of exactly which simulated divided lights you're proposing so that when our compliance officer goes out into the field, he or she can match exactly what you're proposing with what's installed.
Do you have a preference?
Yes, it would be as close as possible to what the existing house has.
Oh, okay, so not
terms of-
really, it's not a standard per se, it's
not.
just matching what's there.
So, for example, some of the simulated divided lights have almost no profile. Others have an extended profile. So try and match as close as you can.
Okay,
Whatever the mullion material and size is currently.
okay.
Okay.
So the width of the mullion, but also the projection?
Exactly.
Okay,
Right?
Just on that point, would we want as a condition to have a photo of an existing example combined with a cut sheet that matches that?
That's exactly what I would like to request.
okay.
Thank you.
Other questions? Do I have a motion?
Sure. I would move to, this is final, right?
Yes.
I would move to approve this application with still needing clarification on the exact window cut sheets for the divided lights and photographs of the existing conditions so that we can determine that what's being proposed is as close as possible to matching existing. Make sense?
I love it, yes.
Great.
And siding?
Oh, and that the siding is going to match as close as possible the underlying siding that was discovered when the asbestos was removed.
Perfect, okay.
I'll second that.
Is that going to go to the review committee, John? John,
Oh, I'm sorry?
will this go to the review committee for review?
Yes.
Thank you.
So this final approval is contingent upon you submitting those to the review committee on Tuesday morning.
Understood.
Great.
Motion by Mr. Becker, seconded by Ms. Wilson Stridick. Mr. Copeland?
Yes?
Mr. Becker?
Yes.
Mr. Stevenson? Ms. Basagno?
Comment? This is my former husband's house, and I am so happy to see everything that is being done. They definitely needed a laundry room and the new pantry. It's fabulous, fabulous. I'm so
Thank
happy
you.
it's being done.
Thank
Small
you.
world.
Ms. Wilson Stridick?
Yes.
Mr. Hammerin? Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next order of business, O'Connor, 1226 Lafayette Street, Block 1129, Lot 10, This is a non-contributing building, and we're going to talk about an addition for a porch. We're doing some windows, a driveway, and siding. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
You have to turn that mic on, please. For the record, you are.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. My name is Paul Farnan, architect with Fulcrum Design Group. I'm here with the owners of 1226 Lafayette Street, Mr. Brian and Ms. Victoria O'Connor. The intent here today is to obtain a conceptual approval. The proposed work does require variance relief, so we know that we need to go to the zoning board after this meeting. Try to keep it short and sweet. The proposed work is really additions and alterations to the existing one-story rectangular plan gable roof dwelling at the subject property. That's 1226 Lafayette Street, Block 1129, Lot 10, kind of the south side of Lafayette as you're entering town or leaving town. The idea on the outside is really to redefine the exterior of the house, but specifically the front of the house. Presently, what could be considered the side of the house is facing Lafayette Street, so the intent is to kind of reframe the house such that it's contributing more to the streetscape. The first floor work is really interior alterations to remove a bedroom and expand living and dining space, while the second floor work is to create additional bedrooms. As far as materials go, it is non-contributing, so materials will largely be synthetic. We're proposing hardy plank lap siding with a 5-inch exposure, accompanied by PVC, AZEK, what have you, trim components, Anderson 400 series windows, and Aqualine permeable pavers is what we propose for the driveway work. A lot of the work will, all of the work will really change the look of the exterior from a materiality standpoint. Right now there is asbestos, although I can't say we tested it, but you know, this cementitious fiber shingle siding. So the idea is to replace that with a more historic look lap siding, horizontal lap siding. We are removing cast iron columns or corner supports over the existing side porch, and the intent is to really just put square columns to support that side entryway as well as the two-story front porch. That's probably the most, I guess the largest change is really to the front of the house will be that two-story front porch with a traditional baluster-type railing assembly. I think in a nutshell, that's everything. So we'd be happy to field any questions that you might have. Again, we are here for conceptual. I do know that my partner met with the review committee at least once before this to discuss the project, so hopefully we're tracking to get our conceptual zoning approval and then come back for final.
Okay. Just one question on this bump out here
Yes.
is to accommodate,
New second-story bedroom space.
because it's interesting because it looks like the old-fashioned
Like the
bath.
bath. It does have that kind of effect.
Okay. we'll open it up, we'll go around the room, get some feedback. Thank you, this house does need some work, and we appreciate your efforts, so thank you. Kevin, you want to start?
I think what you're doing is a wonderful thing. However, somehow, I don't know how, we'll have to ask John, I'd like to see it softened a bit. Maybe the windows change, the three-panel windows, the picture windows. I don't know, shutters, something to just soften it a little bit.
The front you're talking about?
Excuse me?
Are you talking mainly about the front of the house?
I can't hear you. The front. Well, the front, and maybe the windows in the front and the windows on the side, Mr. Chairman. I don't know, it almost has a cookie cutter appearance, I think. I could be wrong, but I thought maybe it should be softened.
I appreciate the comment. I just wanted to jump in and respond to that. Again, we will be refining the design through through these next phases beyond this before we come back for a final. Since we've been to the review committee, I think we included the addition of like Bermuda, Bahama type style shutters, at least on the side.
Or something, yes.
That may not be represented on the exterior view. In any case, the idea is to make sure that we tie all those things together. But if that wasn't clear, I did want to bring that to your attention also, that is a component of the project.
Thank you.
We said the same thing. We had been already talking about it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I just want to clarify, the existing shed that's on the property, that's not being altered or,
No, ma'am.
No
Not
work.
at this time. In the future, possibly.
okay, that's all.
It needs replacement. Don't know if our future proposal will be in kind or if we,
I just wanted to clarify that.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to say, when I drive past that place, it's truly an eyesore right now. So, I mean, this is a great improvement, and I think I agree with B that maybe the picture window in the front needs some more mullions or something in there to soften it.
John?
This is a great improvement,
Thank you.
and I really appreciate what you're attempting to do here. I only have one question.
Sure.
The decking material that you called out, you said new polyurea deck.
Yeah.
What is that?
Polyurea, it's like a polymer type material that is similar to like fiberglass. It's like something that's being used in lieu of fiberglass right now.
Like Trex? Something-
No. Like it's a solid, it's basically 2 layers of like plywood. Like you'll put like a 3/4 plywood down, then you'll put a more finished grade, maybe like 3/8, ½ inch on top of that. And then they roll on basically like a polymer coating. It's a coating.
Oh, so it won't look like a wood deck. It'll look more like a concrete single
This-
material finish?
The second floor deck, yes.
What about the first floor?
The first floor, the intent, I believe, is Trex.
Okay. I would strongly suggest that the material at least replicate what would appear to be a wood decking,
Okay.
at least that which you can see, because that's going to change the detail quite a bit at the edge of those boards to what the fascia looks like
Right.
underneath the railing. And I think that's the look you're seeking, so that would just be something that I would volunteer
Okay.
to consider.
Okay.
Yeah? Would that be consistent with what you're looking for?
I think we haven't had sufficient discussion about that. In
Yeah.
my mind, I'd like to do mahogany or
Oh.
type of hardwood. But
Even better.
construction costs, I think we're trying to find out where we are. So, 'cause
I think all I'm trying to do is steer you, if possible, away from a monolithic material that looks more
I
like,
agree, they don't last and they are eyesore.
yeah.
And it's
That's
not that
what-
much of an eyesore. I put the flower boxes in.
I understand where you're coming
I'm
from.
just joking around.
Otherwise, nice work.
Terrific.
Thank you.
One of the things we could do with the conceptual too is that condition could be steer away from a monolithic material. And you all can kind of work on what that might be and then come back for final and make a proposal.
Right, yeah, absolutely. I think that's exactly what we'll do.
Yeah. I agree with the observations and comments of the group, and I appreciate the effort to improve this property, so thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion? I'll make the motion that we approve the project as presented, with the exception of the idea is to further develop the presentation for softening by the plantation shutters and the wood decking on the first and second floor decks. Do I have a second?
Second.
And that's for conceptual, right, Warren?
Yes, conceptual.
Thank you. Motion by Mr. Copeland, seconded by Mr. Becker. Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Mr. Becker?
Yes.
Mr. Stevenson?
Yes.
Ms. Pisagno?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson Stridick?
Yes.
Mr. Hammerin?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next order of business is Hoff. This is 1006 Washington Street, Block 1110, Lot 2. This is a contributing property, and the question,
But they weren't doing it.
They requested
they
to be
requested
continued.
an extension, yes, sorry. We should have mentioned that in the beginning. The meeting is open to the public. There's no public present, but by phone you can contact, or you can't. No. No public. We're going to have some discussion points. The HBC Awards, and Pip, you were going to present something. Could I impose on you, though, Pip, by all means, come up. But we also have a window presentation, and the window piece is going to be really quick. If you don't mind, we'll do that window thing first.
Oh, okay.
No, have a seat.
So
You're in on it.
We're- Well, I thought we were going to present it as a project to take a look.
Oh, yes. So Warren has asked me if I would do a little research project about, as manufacturers continue to evolve the windows that we're approving, we've seen some changes, as was referenced earlier this evening, in particularly the simulated divided lights are all over the place right now, ranging from 3 inches wide to less than a half-inch wide, and some of them just are not appropriate. So what Warren's asked me to do is do a little bit of research about the windows that we would easily approve from various manufacturers as a sort of a guide that will help us make decisions when folks are presenting windows.
Yeah, one of the things that has happened here is, which is the same thing actually that happened just a few years ago. Over time, the manufacturers change specifications, but they hold the title the same. So one time, we'll have a wood window, and then over time, it'll change into the same number, but it'll be clad, which we wouldn't approve on a contributing building. And so I looked at a window that we approved recently. Kevin looked at the window. I think John looked at the window.
I did too.
We all agreed unanimously that the window was good and to be done on a contributing building.
Warren, can you please move your mic closer? It's not,
We actually looked at the window, and it was approved, so we don't want to talk about addresses. But when we actually looked at the window, it's been changed, and it is no longer, I don't believe it would be acceptable to our commission to continue to approve that window. So it has a very strong vertical line, but a very weak horizontal line, so it doesn't look like an authentic window, and in the prior period it would. I've asked John to go back and take all the major manufacturers that we're aware of and get the specs so that we can agree as a group which windows, in fact, we would agree to continue. So,
Couple other very brief reflections is when we did this a couple years ago, this whole guide to window grills is completely different than it was 2 years ago from JELD-1, just as an example of what's changing. But I also would like to suggest that what our solicitor, Mr. Gillenschwartz, suggested tonight be something that we do as a matter of course on contributing houses when they're replacing the windows. Because it's the third time I've seen this now, and I, again, don't want to talk about any addresses, but the old windows were removed, new windows were put in, new trim put in, and there's like a 2-inch gap between the edge of the siding and where the new trim of the windows is, which means the windows, either the windows or the siding or both were not the same size as what was original. Now you have all this siding that you have to repair around each of the windows, and it's a mess. So I would like to suggest that we request a photograph of what's existing so that we can match it.
so, if you all agree, then we'll send John on a mission to come back soon with a presentation for the windows that we can be comfortable approving. And we'll probably have to do that every couple of years, actually. So with that, Pip is here tonight. A brief conversation with me on the phone, and I got the impression that there's going to be sufficient enough change here to preempt you, Pip, that rather than try to draw a conclusion tonight, I think listening to the comprehensive presentation, and then with some written material, I think with an opportunity to reflect on it a little bit, and then bring it back next month for a further conversation, dialogue, and recommendation. Unless I'm mistaken, it just sounded pretty comprehensive, and with that, Pip, take it away. And
So this is very simple, and maybe not too rocket sciencey, but we have like a little group of people who got together to think about creating a historic preservation award program, meaning something that would be instituted that would take place this year and hopefully all subsequent years as we go forward. So we need the HPC's input on a number of things, and as far as this goes, but I thought tonight what I would do is just talk briefly about what the process is going to be, and then see if you have ideas about what some of these ideas that particularly that we need input on that are listed at the top of this little handout. And then since Jim and Tom aren't here tonight, I would follow up with them and make sure that they have an opportunity to communicate whatever they want to communicate or to discuss it. So essentially for this year, what we're proposing is that Judy go through the applications for the full board, the ones that were heard by the full board, not the air conditioner compressors and all of that, but the ones that were heard by the whole board, which she knows what they are, and the numbers of those. And we would do it for 2022, 2023, and 2024 for buildings that were reviewed and got a resolution during that time period for something fairly substantial. And that would be the bulk, if you would say, the bulk of the homes that would be considered. I bring that up because in the past, when we had these historic preservation awards, which was like 20 years ago, when we had them, we took nominations from the public. But right now, we want to start these awards for 2024, so we don't have time to do a whole bunch of stuff with the public regarding them making nominations, although I don't think they would necessarily be excluded. But doing it this other way is just a different approach. So then all of those applications that are pulled up would be reviewed. The applications would be reviewed by two people from the HPC, one of whom will be Janice, who has been working on this for a while anyway. And she and somebody else from the HPC would look at these individual applications and would take out any that are clearly not an award thing. And that could be for any number of reasons, not necessarily because they were poorly done or anything like that, but because they're too little or, shouldn't exactly get an award. And you'll see how that fits with the criteria in a minute. And then that group of nominations, so to speak, I think we call them nominations, would then be reviewed by an independent panel of judges. And these judges would be people that the HPC can certainly nominate, and that would be taken, we would take nominations from other people, and they would be people that are credentialed as architects in historic preservation. We think somebody should be a previous member of the Historic Preservation Commission, but we're thinking that a current member of the Historic Preservation Commission should not function as a judge, because I think that gets into like a little bit of, we're trying to make this as apolitical as possible. I'm not sure that's possible in Cape May, but maybe it is. So anyhow, with that, we would then, the judges would then look at these applications, which would be reviewed with a checklist. So they would get the checklist, they would get the resolution, they would get current pictures of the property and what the review had been. And then they, using a checklist that we would also develop for them, they would go through these applications, these nominations, and they would make recommendations for what they think should get the award, which one should get the first award, and which one would get the second award, which would be like a, one could get like a second award. What do we call that? I forget.
Honorable mention?
What?
Honorable mention?
Yeah, an honorable mention, yeah. So they would get an honorable mention. And then at some point, the city would notify people that they had received, were going to receive this award. And we would have, hopefully in the spring, like we're thinking maybe March or maybe April, something like that, that has to be decided. We would have a big presentation of these, which we're thinking we would maybe have it at Congress Hall, and because that's such a historic building, and it's a wonderful example of what people could do really, really well from the Secretary of the Interior standards. And I think it sort of illustrates how if you do something to the Secretary of Interior standards, it might actually increase your profits or make you more marketable, as has worked so well at Congress Hall. So anyway, so with that, that's sort of the basic kind of process of what would happen. And people would then receive their awards. So what would be good to have input on tonight is we took the categories for the awards, and the definitions are from the Secretary's standards. We want this to match up with our own standards, and these are also definitions that are reflected in our standards. And there would be 5 categories of recognition, of which one is a person or a organization, and the 4 that have to do with buildings are preservation or restoration, adaptive reuse, new construction, and additions. And those represent the 4, primary categories of applications that we see. And then the 5th one would be an award to an individual or an organization that has really taken leadership in historic preservation and has done outstanding things in Cape May. So I just briefly reviewed how these 4 building ones would be nominated and how we would do it with them. We're thinking that in each year there could be 2 awards in each category, the honorable mention or the regular award. And if there were no awards, there wouldn't have to be any. So for example, if there was no adaptive reuse, or if there was no whatever, then we would not make an award in that year. And if there are 2 that are really good, then there would be the award and the honorable mention. And if there was only 1, then there would be only one award. So the number of awards would kind of change. And the award itself for the buildings would be a plaque, which Lorraine has done a lot of work on, and to see what the plaque could look like and where it could go, and how we would get them made. So we have a tentative design for those, but not yet any pricing, full pricing and things like that yet. But we're basically thinking about something metal that would be able to be attached to the house, that would be weatherproof and all of that kind of stuff, and that people could have on their house. For the Preservation Leadership Awards, we're thinking that that's one that we should really have nominations from, not just the HPC and City Council, but also in the town. So we're hoping that that could get posted on the website and in the social media accounts for the city, that we would also do other things like write some articles for the Star and Wave and the Herald and everything, and tell people that we would take nominations, and we would have a nomination form. And the nomination form will basically be, I'm nominating so-and-so, I'm nominating a person, I'm nominating an organization, why you want to nominate them, what you're nominating them for, what it is that they've contributed, what their impact has been, and then invite people to attach any kind of additional documentation that they might want to attach, like letters of recommendation, or they could attach stories, that have been written about the person or whatever. And then we would pick that person or that organization, and there would just be one each year. So that would take care of this year, but then going forward in next year, we would want to keep the same awards, the same definitional awards and that. But at that point, we would maybe look at whether we could solicit nominations from the community once we have these other ones approved. So you can ask whatever questions you want, but I did put these 6 things up here at the top. In looking at the award condition, the award categories, would anybody suggest any additional ones, or the ones you think would be important? As far as the Preservation Leadership Awards, who would you nominate? Do you have ideas for organizations that have been particularly good, or for people that you think have been particularly significant? We would also appreciate any suggestions people had for judging, what kind of people should be included as judges, and also names of people, if you know them, that would be good for judges. And then we're going to do a checklist. We didn't do this yet, but we're going to do like a checklist, so that the judges, each of the judges has this checklist, and they're able to review it and make, write some things about categories. I don't anticipate that many of you are into grants, or things like that, but that's basically what happens, right? You send something in and somebody says how it goes. So we're going to do that, and when we get that checklist done, we would certainly want to share it with everybody on the HPC, and you could review it and see if you think there should be other checklist items that should be added. And then the 5th one is ideas about how judges review. They could potentially review this information themselves at home, using the information that we would put together about each application that's being nominated to go forward, or they could maybe do part of it on their own, review the applications on their own, and then maybe come to a meeting and discuss them and come up with their recommendations. And so whether they should be in person, or they could be totally virtual, or they have to be halfway one way or halfway or the other way, any ideas you have about that process we would appreciate hearing. And then finally, we don't have to worry about this immediately, but any ideas that people have for what the awards ceremony should be. We were kind of thinking that we would put together a PowerPoint that would rotate on a television, and it would show examples of like what we knew about each property. If we have, that's why we're anxious to get going, because it takes a while to put that together. But we could put that together, and that would play so that when the awards were given, that would showcase what the award was, and then the award would be given. So as I say, any ideas or anything that people have, you can email me. I can come back potentially at another meeting if that's necessary. But if you have ideas and you want to share them now, or if you have questions, please ask. I'm always glad to be last on the meeting because nobody will have any questions.
Thanks, Pip. Yeah, getting some feedback tonight, I think, is good. But we've had these starts on this award program. You and I were with an award program that we had the ceramic plaques that people were really, personally, I didn't care for that plaque so much, but people are proud to receive them and show them. You can see them around town. And so it's good that we want to do this. There's just a lot here, and I would ask to impose on you to come back next month so everyone can really give this serious thought as to the awards that you're talking about, how they're done, how we're going to nominate people. So rather than just react tonight, which is fine, but it just seems to me that there's a lot of thought went into this, and there's a lot of material here, and I think you would get a more robust response if everyone was given a little bit of time to think about it and reflect.
Yeah. Can I just add something to, Pip, great presentation. Her work and Janice's work on this has been wonderful. Steve volunteered his time, which was really gave us a lot of good feedback. But I think it's a really good look for the HPC doing something like this. I know it was done a few years ago, but even taking it a little bit further, and once an award is given, that can be put on our website. This is the award. This is the architect that was part of this process. This is the builder that was part of this process. We can't very well provide that information to people, but we can also say these are good designs, these are good builders, these are good craftsmen. So I think that even furthers what we're looking at doing as well.
And I'd like to also say, I didn't even know you guys were working on it, so it's great you've been doing this behind the scenes. But remember, this is the first thing I've seen since the rollout that's in furtherance of our mission for community outreach and education. Will work great for both of those things.
Pip, I have a question, very short. I see that at the last one, you say within the county. Are all these categories countywide? They're not just...
They're just for the city, but the definitions.
Okay.
The definitions came, maybe we should change that.
Yeah, that should be changed. City.
Yeah, we should. I thought that the same thing myself, and then I
Oh, I wasn't I just was curious. So it's citywide, thank you, okay.
I have a question. I didn't get a copy of that, Pip. If you can pass one back to me. Thank you. There was a subcommittee of HPC formed and assigned a couple years ago, and I think it was just Janice and Tom.
Right.
So is this a new subcommittee?
Yes.
And it has 4 members?
Right.
Okay, I don't have the
Well,
gentleman's name back there.
no, right now the committee is Lorraine, Pip, myself, and you.
Judy, right?
Judy, you're on it. Surprise.
Okay, so it's,
No, she knows.
sorry, it's Judy Decker, Lorraine, Steve?
Stephen has consulted with us, but
Okay.
we're not going to use him up
Okay.
free.
Okay, so Janice and Pip, so 4 of us. Okay. All right. Just wanted to,
And I think one thing that may not have been obvious in the presentation is that these awards are being given by the city, by council. And one of the goals in this design of the program is to take the benefits and the cachet of historic preservation and broaden the stakeholders. So it doesn't look like it's only, a small group of people who are on the commission who understand how it works. We want people to be enfranchised, to think about it themselves, to think about it, nominating a project that they like. And it gives us an opportunity to submit public press to the Star and Wave, et cetera, the Herald, that describes the positive things about preservation instead of the kind of things we normally see. And I also love the idea of raising up the architects and the contractors who do the right thing.
Right.
And make it prestigious.
Your part about the education, touch on that.
Well, we talked about, even the Environmental Commission takes out these ads that tell people what invasive species are. You can buy these things in the landscaping places, and they talk about them proven winners and everything. I mean, we're going against a commercial push toward everything new. We're trying to preserve old, but do it in a way that's useful, that works, that people use. And that's a story, that's a narrative, and the narrative needs to be out there. And the award that Lorraine designed is simply a marker, but it's a nice looking. So the person who receives it will feel great about it, but it doesn't really tell a story. The story is going to be with trying to do an event that people want to go to, and hopefully with the publicity and the website, the public education on the website.
And then even in front of the houses, having something.
Well, I would love, I'm big on big signs, but in Savannah, they have large signs in front of every property that's going to go before the HBC. And in Madison, they have large signs before properties that have been given an award, and the signs describe why they were given the award. So if you've been around any communities that do a lot on pollinator gardens and things like that, the environmental movement has made it a point to educate people that untidy gardens actually have a reason. Like we have that little pocket garden on Madison, I think, that educates people that John Schneider designed. So we don't have that type of passerby education. We have people taking pictures all the time. They love the way it looks. This is an opportunity. This is a walking town. Make the streetscape defend itself. So that's kind of where we are with the rationale behind it. And also, I think when the mayor and council give an award and they have a budget for it, and it's something everybody likes, it will survive changes in the HPC, changes in the government, because it will be something with a lot of good feelings about it. And, everyone on this commission through history has gotten anxious every month when you look at the applications and try to make sure you do a good job, and the review committee puts tons of time in. So it's kind of not too surprising that the award program ebbed and flowed. And it would be nice to institutionalize it because it's so much a part of our identity.
Can I ask just a quick question? So just thinking about the categories, an example of adaptive reuse might be the library, the public library. And an example of the preservation or restoration project might be the Abbey, which has turned out, quite beautiful. So is the award given for something that was, where the project was completed in the past year? Or can it go back further?
Completed, it would be from 2022, 23, and 24, but completed by, we thought, October 31st of 2024.
Okay, so in other words, it would not be open, say, to, let's just use the, blanking now all of a sudden, Angel of the Sea, I think it is,
Oh, yeah.
where they brought a piece of the building from
Right.
another location and really tied those two just beautifully together. That would not be,
No, because that's too long ago, and I don't think we can go back.
that's fine, I understand.
Yeah, all that far. But we have good restorations, potential good restorations from 2022.
Right.
Well, I love the idea of having an annual celebration where people would come and maybe have a dinner and an awards ceremony. It would be wonderful, right? And the only other thing I'm thinking is, you're spot on, I think, Lorraine, that it could eventually become quite prestigious to have the architect and the builder and the building team be recognized. So maybe that's part of the application eventually, when people can nominate themselves, is on the application, you put that information in so that they're agreeing that it can be published, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I can see this thing in a few years. Oh, yeah, did you guys did you get your application in, right? Yeah, it could be a really cool thing.
This year, what we thought we would do is when the judges have actually said who should get the award, then when people contact those owners, that they would at that point in time ask the owners to identify these people. And,
That's for the first year.
Yeah,
Where
but-
it's an independent nomination, right?
Right.
Yeah, got it, yep.
You'll be back here next month, Ed?
what?
You'll be back here next month?
Yeah, I'll come back next month if I need to, yeah.
Well, it seems to me, I would impose on you, it seems to me, you can get some feedback tonight. But this is a major change for a significant project that we've all tried to do.
Warren, I'm not arguing with you
Yeah.
at all.
So I think giving everyone a chance to really give this some thought, get some information back to you, as well as giving you a chance then to pull that together, that input, and then come back and share with us where we are, and perhaps at that point, also some other ideas will come up. But really, I see it as a more dynamic process than hearing it, reacting, and completing it. So I'd like it to be more.
I think you've made your point.
Thank you.
Thanks, Pip.
We're done on that?
Yeah.
Thank you, Pip.
You're welcome.
One other discussion point for tonight, briefly. Over the last couple of years, a lot of people have done a lot of work trying to modify or have an addendum to our National Historic Landmark with regards to the African-American contribution to the city of Cape May. Coincidentally, Pip is here. Pip did a lot of work. Some of us spent a lot of time on this, but it's a tremendous amount of work to get something like this all the way through the process, to get it through the state, and then to get the state to present it to Congress. There was a brief comment at a meeting at City Council that it had passed the state. But I thought it might be interesting for everyone to have an opportunity, not to read, but this is the submission from the state to go forward.
There's a bunch of blank paper in this stack.
Unfortunately not. So I thought, first, we should have a copy of it on file. So I'm going to give this to Judy for the HBC file. But I would encourage each of you, when you get a chance, it's not the type of document you read, but it is the type of document you should be aware of and recognize the effort to get something like this just to this point. It's not all been done yet, but this.
It's approved by the state. The state approved it.
The state approved it.
And
but
it's now listed on the state historic register, and it's been forwarded to the feds.
So like 4-year project so far?
But
How, you think it's about 3 or 4 years in the making?
This is at least 3 years in the making.
But it didn't need to be 3 years, but it was 3 years.
But I mean, you know, you remember we had a consultant, Nancy Zerbe, who did a lot of work. A lot of people did a lot of work. So I just thought you might find it interesting. This is not something you can just, well, maybe you all can if you got a jumbo computer, but getting a chance to just flip through this online would be quite a challenge. And of course, printing it out. So,
I have a question. I have a couple questions.
I have the PDF.
So it's now in the hands of the National Trust. So about how long does their review process take, would you think? You have any
I don't know
idea?
when they hear it.
Is it annually? Is it biannually,
No,
quarterly?
I think it might be quarterly, but just because this one has been forwarded by the state signed off on it July 31st. So just because that's been forwarded, I don't know when they forwarded it to the feds, but just because it's been forwarded doesn't mean you would be in the very next meeting, like here, right?
So this is an amendment to the National Historic Landmark status to add the African American District?
No, it's an amendment to the National Historic District
Okay.
nomination, not the landmark.
And it's to add the African American,
it's to recognize the African American.
Yeah.
and is it the first one in the country?
Yes.
It will be.
No, it's not the first one.
Well, they said
Yes.
that at the New Jersey Historic Commission
When-
hearing.
Yep.
Maybe they were wrong.
Pip, when we proposed this originally, a couple years ago now, I remember seeing a note from someone at the federal level that scribbled on it that this is an exciting project and one that we should look forward to. Interestingly enough, only a month after that, there was an online seminar for what it takes to amend a National Historic Landmark. Until that point, no one had amended a National Historic Landmark. So they jumped out ahead, I guess. But anyway, there was a,
I guess my point in asking it is, this is a big deal for the city, a really big deal. I mean, our awards are a big deal, but this is nationally a really big deal, and I would hope the city would really recognize this and promote it and get some PR for it.
the city will. The reason I bring it up tonight, though, is to remind everyone, not a brief comment to city council, but to remind everyone that a lot of people have done a lot of work, including the state. Andrea Tingy has done a tremendous amount of work to get this done. And I just wanted to share with you all, we should have it on file, and I would encourage each of you, when you get a chance, to take a look at the effort here, hopefully, and I believe it will be approved, and I believe we will be the first National Historic Landmark to amend its landmark, but that remains to be seen. We're certainly the first to try it, so, anyway.
There's actually some really interesting information in there that I didn't know at all, so I read some of that.
There's a lot of information here. Yeah, and this is a real challenge because, there's some documentation, but unfortunately, there's not all the buildings, like in Cape May, you can point to all these different buildings and say, well, this is it. I mean, there's a lot of information that is now captured, that wasn't captured before. But, you know, it's hard to then say, well, here's the district. You can say this is where the minority district was, but it's not as clear to look at it physically today as it was in a prior period. And so you have to take dialogue, natural history, and living histories and capture it, and that's what has happened here. And I remember it was years ago, Andrea Tingy and I were in a conversation about Cape May and the African-American contribution, and it was in that conversation that this came about, and then Andrea really picked up the ball, and then a lot of people here in the city, including Pip and other people, really worked hard on this. And as I said, we had grants. Nancy Zerbe's work was a grant. So there's a lot of people supporting this. It doesn't happen. You know,
I think, I feel compelled to also mention that the African-American people contributed to this. Andrea came down from the state. We asked her to come down, and she came down and she met with the African-American people several times, several different times, and they helped also to provide input into this, which had really not happened prior to that time.
The Center for Community Arts received an award at the State New Jersey Historic Commission at the same time as our book did.
For the book.
Yeah. But they might be a possible preservation leadership awardee, you know, when you talk about an organization, because this is a huge deal, and it was going on a long time. I mean, the Center for Community Arts started to try to surface the African-American story in the 90s. So it took a long time.
And you might remember the African-American community was present. Nancy.
They all came in a bus.
And
Yeah, give them an award. They take it very well. They're not shy.
no, but you could see the emotion and the pride
Yeah.
of the community being recognized. And yeah. So anyway, enough said. It is important, and Judy will have the file. I would encourage you to take a look at it.
So you all should look
And
at
there's
the
a
National
PDF.
Historic Landmark application, which I think is like 7 pages.
Really? From Carolyn Pitts? And, oh, my goodness. 7 pages?
7, might be a little bit more. The district nomination is 3.
And this is the amendment.
This is the amendment.
So, Pip, where did you find that original application? Because that was before
What?
word processing. Is it a typewritten document that you copied, or where did you find it?
What are you talking about?
7 pages from Carolyn Pitts.
Oh, just Google it.
It's online.
Oh, it is? Oh, cool.
Yeah, you can get all the. you
Is
can
this
get any
PDF
nomination.
also
Just Google
available
for National
online?
Park Service.
Is the PDF of this going to
This?
be on the website?
On our website, I don't know. This is available online. It's just so much, and dealing with it online, I think, is a little
Okay.
bit of a challenge, but
Pip, can you send us a link for that? Is it on the SHPO website, or you probably could find it a lot easier than we could? That would be great if you could
Yeah,
send
there's
us a link.
I think she linked it on too. I have the link, I can find it.
Hmm.
And I also have the PDF,
Great, okay, that'd be great, thank you.
which has to be divided into 2 parts and compressed, right?
There's a
But I
big-
have that.
Right. Okay.
okay. Anything else before this group? Thank you all.
Thank you.
We have a visitor from zoning.
Oh, great.
I didn't want to mention it. I didn't want to mention it earlier because, you know, whatever comes up about zoning, he ought to hear and see.
Getting ready for, the next season.
Chris, on this, do summer over.
Oh, yeah. Endless summer, that's the way to get it.
That would be good.
See ya. What's that? Yeah.
Pip, thanks for coming in, I appreciate it. We'll see.
You'll be there on Saturday? Saturday?
Yes, I will.
All right, Chris. See ya.
Good to see you.
Yeah. You know, everything takes longer than it should.
I saw you walking down to the mount on Saturday. You breezed in there for a little bit. I never heard that.
Yeah. Oh, I was a volunteer at the dog. That's a good time. So, you know, giving dog biscuits. Anyway, I was there. And because, as you know, my wife is on the board.
Right, right.
And so she was there. She volunteered me. It was nice. The dogs are all friendly.
Yeah, we didn't bring our dog down. I'll catch up with John later. I just wanted to find out about that application of on court. Whether or not he was going to get in touch with them. They need to clean up that application quite a bit. Do they really? I can probably.
I saw him talking to him. So
I know, that's why I'm
presume.
thinking he is, yeah. Okay. I'll give him a call. Text him. Right. Yep. Okay. Okay, but they, I think on the plan, they need to identify where they're going to make fence. They need to put, you know, I'm not gonna say tree, I used to work the outcome rate. So it's pretty good. Okay. Do you want to repeat that? That'd be good.
It's only an improvement. But if John didn't think of it, then we did this. What? Right. Right, no, I thought it was all right, I just thought the plan needed to be solved, and there was something about it. Maybe it was the dwelling, the architectural concept had to be solved.
This one?
Yes, yeah. Yeah, because there was something, maybe it was because it was computer generated, I don't know.